Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go over some interesting news that director and producer James Wan is going to be executive producing a Knight Rider reboot film. Now, for those of people that are not familiar with Knight Rider or the various series that it's encompassed, because there's been a few of them. The original series with David Hasselhoff came out in the mid-'80s, and basically it was about his character, Michael Knight, who was kind of this crime-fighting type of guy, basically. He kind of just went around, like, righting wrongs and things like that. And he had this super powerful car that was given to him by this billionaire, and basically the car's name is Kit, and it talks, and it can drive really fast, and it's bulletproof and stuff like that, and it's kind of really cool. So you had the car as as a character in the show, as well as David Hasselhoff when he was in his prime. So there was a lot that people liked about it, and it kind of stayed around for a while in syndication and stuff too after it aired in the mid-'80s. So you had all of this kind of nostalgia, and then they had some like made-for-TV movies and stuff like that. After that, they did a very short-lived series in 2008, which was not very good. I actually did watch that at the time. But now we're to this point, and James Wan, who most people would probably remember recently from films like Furious 7 or Aquaman, or even Star Trek Beyond, if you're going all the way back to 2016, he is executive producing this film, and right now there is not a director attached to it, so that is fair to say. But James Wan, some people have issues with the movies that he does, in terms of, they say, oh, the movie's not that deep, or it's just this, or it's just that, or it's a car movie, or it's a thing movie, I guess is what I'd like to say. It's a movie about a specific thing. Star Trek movie. That's all it needs to be. Nothing any deeper than that. Fast and Furious, any of those car movies. You can look at Aquaman, basic superhero movie. So he's very good at making fun films. That's what I like about James Wan. He's very good at creating an atmosphere that you can go to and you can sit down, and if you're not really thinking that much about it, you can enjoy it. It kind of reminds me of the Transformers films before they got completely unwatchable. It was basically everything after one. But I don't necessarily. Some people might say that's a bad thing. I don't necessarily say that's a bad thing. Now, aside from that, like I said, we don't have a director. However, we do have some writing credits on this already. It'll be written by T.J. Fixman. Now, Fixman is actually very well known for video games. He's written for Ratchet and Clank as well as Resistance: Fall of Man, which, if anybody doesn't remember those are PS4 exclusives. Ratchet and Clank is still going on; they're still making those games. I don't know if he is actually still writing for those games, but if he was writing for the decent ones, then that is actually kind of interesting to me, because you have kind of this buddy cop idea with the Knight Rider idea already, and then you also have the same kind of idea with Ratchet and Clank, where Clank is this robot that helps Ratchet do various things, basically acts as a backpack, jetpack, whatever. And helps him out with stuff, basically, and he can also do his own thing. And then you look at Knight Rider, and it's kind of the same deal between Michael Knight and Kit. So it makes sense maybe that they would get that kind of a director for this, because he kind of has already written in that niche before. Again, with that kind of a series, and the back and forth between Ratchet and Clank too are very well done. At least from what I remember of the games. I haven't played some of the later ones, but. Now you go back to, Michael Knight and Kit, and it's kind of the same idea. They have these kind of snappy back and forth conversations. And the car is also kind of hilarious, too. Mainly just because of the voice. Here's the other thing, too, is that this has a lot of opportunities to go with it in terms of a casting and a story setting, because I wouldn't mind seeing, like, an old man Knight Rider film. I wouldn't mind seeing David Hasselhoff come back to the big screen for a big one. And apparently he was actually talking about something along these lines with James Gunn after his cameo appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So I think David Hasselhoff can come back to the screen. The question is, can he come back to the screen effectively as Michael Knight again? And look, I'm not going to go out there and say that David Hasselhoff was ever, an outstanding actor. He's serviceable in the things that he does well, which is basically kind of that bravado lead guy. Maybe he's a little kind of sleazy or good with the women. But he's basically, he was never really made that transition into film very well for the most part. He was always a lot of a TV guy. One of the films I think I remember him from the most was Star Crash, which was a horrible Star Wars ripoff by Luigi Cozzi. And again, there's there's levels, there's levels of things that David Hasselhoff can do, but I think that he fits into that kind of main generic male protagonist type of role very well. To have him come back as Michael Knight and maybe an aged Michael Knight, it would be interesting to see if that character, if that bravado has changed over the years, if he's able to evolve that character, because again, he's lived in that skin before. And of course getting a good voice for Kit. Now, I'm not going to say that they have to get the same voice that they had in the past. I can't remember who the actor's actual name is. And I apologize. It's William Daniels. That is the name of the man who originally voiced Kit. Now, I'm not sure if William Daniels is actually still alive, but if they can get him, that would be amazing, because then you would have the original Kit and the original Michael Knight in there. Or they could go to the entire reboot route like they did with the 2008-2009 series. So I don't think that's as viable of an option, because I think they're going to have to bank off the nostalgia. And I think if people don't see David Hasselhoff in that role again, it's kind of a little bit of my feelings on Mad Max Fury Road, even though I do like that movie, is it doesn't feel like a Mad Max movie to me, not because of everything screams Mad Max, but it's because I'm not seeing Mel Gibson on the screen. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Fury Road is a bad film. I do like Fury Road, but it does draw me out of the experience because I'm so used to seeing Mel Gibson in that role. And you can carry it kind of over to this. It's Michael Knight. Michael Knight is really only one actor, and it's David Hasselhoff. Now, if you wanted to do a thing where, like, okay, it's his kid or his protege or something, I don't think people would gravitate towards that as much, even if he was in the movie in some kind of a major supporting role. Because they want to see, Michael Knight. They want to see the Michael Knight from Knight Rider, but they just want to see him progress a little bit in his life, and maybe that he's changed, and maybe the car's changed too. That's the other thing is, I don't necessarily think you need to keep it as the old Trans Am, even though that would be awesome if you actually did. But you got to make it a cool looking car. You can't turn it into what they did in the television series in the late 2000s, which was it was like a muscle car, and then it turned into a pickup truck, and then it was a transforming Knight Rider. Don't do transforming Knight Rider. That's a bad idea. All that does is remind people of Michael Bay and Transformers. That's the thing is, I think you need to make Knight Rider its own thing. Don't try and copy something from another franchise like a Transformers type of thing just because it was popular at the time. Since 2008, it's the year after the first Transformers movie came out. Of course, Knight Rider's going to be a Transformer because there wasn't studio meddling in that creative choice at all. But I don't think you should do that. I think you should keep it kind of as traditional to what you can. Maybe update the look of a car a little bit, and get David Hasselhoff back in there for one final, kind of hurrah to this character, and get something done that's right. Like I said, I think the writer can do good based on what I've seen of his work, even though he is transitioning from one medium to another. He does actually have 2 scripts that I believe one of them has been picked up and is actually going to be starring Michael B. Jordan. But he has the ability to write for film, is what I'm saying, even though his main stuff has mostly been attributed to video games. So I feel comfortable with him, given the characters that I've seen him handle and the humor I've seen him handle, so I think that works. And then the next part of it is, who is James Wan going to get to direct this? Because that's going to affect the tone a lot, even if the script is, of a good quality. The director can affect the tone of the film very, very much and alter that script quite a bit. So it's going to depend on that. But I think he's going to try and get somebody fun for this. I think he's going to try and get somebody that knows how to make a fun movie, because that's really what this kind of should be. It shouldn't be anything that's too dark and gritty and shit like that. It shouldn't be go to that type of a level. It was kind of it's a goofy concept in general, where a guy goes around fighting evil while at the same time driving a car that has a mind of its own. It's a goofy little premise, but it does work. It works because of the setting. It works because it was the '80s. It works because of David Hasselhoff and the car. It works because of the aesthetic. You need to try and transfer that over as much as you can. And like I said, that mostly lies with the director. And I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that I would actually like to direct a Knight Rider movie. Maybe James Wan will do it himself. I have no idea. He could executive produce and direct if they do wind up working that out. But like I said, there's a lot you could do with this type of a script in order to make it fun. And at the same time, also, I don't think it should be too kiddie. It shouldn't be. This should be a PG-13 movie, is what I'm saying. This should be, a pretty decent PG-13 movie. You can get away with a decent amount. You don't go too far into the R territory because you're going to get out of your target demographic with that. But I think this can work. I honestly think this can work if you do the right things and you try and drum up that fan base again and try and kind of make amends a little bit for that crappy 2008 show that came out. So. But I want to know what you think about this. Would you like to see a Knight Rider reboot? Would you like to see David Hasselhoff return to the role? Would you like to see it, entirely rebooted with a brand new actor, brand new cast, and everything like that? What do you think about the car as well? Should the car be a different model? Should you keep the old Trans Am? Put your thoughts in the comments below. I'd like to, as usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?